So I'll call the meeting to order because this is a reorganizational meeting to begin with at 5:30, I guess, at 5:29. So first in the organizational meeting is to elect a chair.
I nominate Josh Laughlin.
Wow, that was quick.
Really?
It was Scott last, I mean, that's,
Yeah, I think
that's the sequence we're in.
That's right, it's Josh's turn.
So
We might actually explain that every year we switch it around.
It's a rotation.
It's a rotation of the seat. This year?
right. So all in favor?
Maybe we should do a,
We can-
so who's vice chair?
That
You,
would make
Scott.
me vice chair.
Vice chair.
Yeah, you can do it all.
I would move,
Okay.
yeah, I would move, so why don't, you wanna modify your,
All right. How about if I move
there's a motion to have me as chair,
chair and Scott as vice chair and myself as
clerk.
Right, or I'll move you as clerk. I
yeah.
suppose, right.
Right.
It's all very official.
I understand.
All right,
right?
so vice
There's
chair is
moved
going to
and
be
seconded by
Somebody. All in favor?
Aye. Right, okay, so we all have to get up and switch
I
our,
put,
are
I
we
was just
switching
saying, I
our
put name
seats?
tags in the middle so that,
We could,
You know, I've gotten used to sitting on this end.
There we go. It's official now.
that is official.
All right.
All right.
All right, so you can
All right.
take over, Josh.
We're
okay.
gonna do musical chairs.
Nah.
You want to do it
Want
now?
me in the center, or
You want to wait till
next
the meeting?
week?
Okay.
So I'd like to hear a proposal for a time and place of regular board meetings. How about 5:30s on Wednesdays?
5:30 on
Keep
Wednesdays.
it the same, is it okay with everybody still?
Every other
That's the
Wednesday,
word.
starting today.
Today
Works for
sounds
me.
good.
Okay. And official newspaper, I think, didn't we decide to do both the Commons and the Reformer?
I think we named the Reformer, but we used the Commons, and I did get another email requesting that we name the Commons as the newspaper of record. I sent an email back asking if there was any chance that the Commons was going to become a daily newspaper at any point, and I haven't heard anything back, but that would be the only hesitation I have in naming them. But
No,
I don't think we named both of them. We named the Reformer, but know that we put things in the Commons.
I think so, yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay. So the Reformer it is. I don't know if you want to make an official motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Annual appointments, do we want to just, is this slate
This,
as we want it?
well, we've sent out the annual letters talking to the people that are being, possibly being reappointed, asking people if they do not want to serve anymore. So those letters have gone out, plenty of time has passed to know whether somebody wanted to be taken off or not. So just going down the list, if you see the notes to the side, like under Animal Advisory Board, there's an Abby Jacobson on there. I don't think we can appoint her. She wanted to come in and talk to me first. I was hoping she would have come in before today. So we'll keep her as a possible future appointment, so it wouldn't be her today. And then down under affordable housing, we have added Kellen McCullough to the list and Becky Coffey came off.
Step down.
So that's a new one. And then before you do the appointments, just kind of this whole slate of appointments, I would like to have a discussion about the tax exempt committee. Kim Foltz has sent me an email requesting to be appointed to that committee, but I'm not really sure what the future of that committee is right now. If we feel like we want to stick with the people that we have, is there more work to be done? Do we want to reappoint, or do we want to hold off on that one until we, I think there's a little bit more work to be done, but I'm not sure that there's enough to
Yeah. Why don't we hold off until we have a discussion about it?
Okay.
But you want to
So,
appoint
I
the rest
think-
of these?
Move the rest of them and
Yeah,
then
I
just
am-
say it with the-
I would
that's
say
good.
you could do that. The Energy Committee, there's a little bit of gray area around who actually is still serving. The only one right now whose term is up is Alice, and we sent her a letter, and she hasn't responded that she doesn't want to be on it, so reappointing her is okay, but that one, just for no other reason, just to let you know, I'm gonna send them all a letter and find out what's going on with them.
And Norm's willing to continue being our rescue rep?
We haven't heard
I
of.
did hear from Nora.
Oh, you did hear from him, okay.
And he's good?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
He was
That's
around.
very good.
So,
Okay.
All right, well, I will make a motion that we accept all of the folks that have accepted continuing to serve as listed, with the exception of the tax exempt property committee pending our discussion.
All right, I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Adjustments to the agenda.
I don't have
I don't have anything.
Nope.
Acceptance of minutes.
Okay. I will make a motion that we accept the minutes of February 24th.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, we'll accept the minutes of February 24th. All in favor?
Aye.
Windham Wood Heat. Is that you?
That's me.
Hi, Kim. Kim?
That is my
Is that
name.
right?
Yep.
I'm
yep.
Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Scott.
Steve. Scott. Nice to meet you all. I'm with the Windham Regional Commission, and I'm partnering with local and regional entities on the Windham Wood Heat Initiative, which is a program that's funded through the Clean Energy Development Fund, which is nested within the Public Service Department. And right now, we have one-time funding that came with a settlement between the state of Vermont and Entergy Corporation as a result of the closure of BY. And so that money is being diverted into projects that support renewable energy sources, alternatives to nuclear. And so out of that grew this Windham Wood Heat program. And so we're about a year into the program at this point. It's a 2-year program. And so we are essentially going through the process of evaluating towns. The program is open to both public schools as well as municipal buildings. So we're evaluating which entities are interested in participating and what the feasibility is of actually doing an installation of a pellet or wood chip system. In your cases, you would be looking at a pellet system from the standpoint that wood chips are bulky, and so they require extra capital costs, so they make more sense for a high school. So we would be looking at a pellet system in the 2 cases. We did site visits back in August, I believe it was. Maybe it was July.
August, yeah.
And so from that, we determined that the buildings are feasible for switching over to wood pellets systems. The pellet boilers that we're looking at are function similarly to an oil boiler. So essentially, pellets are delivered in bulk. So there's no handling of the pellets. They're all automated. So there's not a lot of work that you need to do with them, unlike a pellet stove where you're always having to deal with pellet bags. They do, because it is a solid fuel, you do have ash at the end, so that needs to be cleaned out periodically. But it doesn't end up being, usually you can collect 40 pounds of ash or so between cleanings, and it's all collected in a container. So they're fairly low maintenance. And so they function very similarly to what you have already with bulk delivery. You just call up your distributor and they'll bring a delivery by. And there's a lot of benefits to wood heat as far as the cost of pellets is very stable, unlike oil where we see these very volatile prices from year to year. So it's easy to budget around pellets. And then, as far as supporting the local economy, the pellets are produced through one of 3 factories in the area, including Jaffrey, New Hampshire, West Windsor, and Clarendon, North Clarendon, near Rutland. So they tend to be fairly local. And so it supports a lot of local jobs. It uses a low-grade wood that there isn't much of a market for. So it really helps the loggers. So as far as supporting the local economy, there's definitely some really compelling reasons to switch to wood heat. And so I just wanted to come today to talk about the audit and see if you're interested in taking some next steps. I sent the audit to you back in October. The letter. Yeah, and that's the proposal. There's also a couple other options that I can offer you, depending on what level of evaluation you're interested in. The first is that we can go through with a full energy audit. These audits are investment grade, so they give you concrete numbers on what it's going to cost you to transition over. They also evaluate the energy conservation measures that you can take that have a reasonable payback. So usually we look at the life cycle cost analysis. So we're looking at the entire life of the improvements. And so we're looking for anything that's going to be within the life of that improvement. But it breaks it all out in costs, so you can help you evaluate where your highest priority should be.
Can I just add, what is the cost of an audit like that? Like what? So the piece that I think I'm getting
The cost are
stuck on though is how much is that tells the amount.
$3,800.
Okay.
That's for the fire department.
And then how much does the
not to exceed?
So that's the part with you guys that they would pay 75% and we do the 25%.
That's correct.
And then when the construction happens, is that
That's the 25% that Windham Wood Heat covers, and then you would be responsible for the 75%.
Okay.
So our program provides both technical assistance as well as financial assistance, so we can help you through the process of deciding whether to move forward with the audit, and then through the spec and bidding process, and provide review of the entire process. So there's that technical assistance, and then our program covers 25% of the installation of a wood boiler, and all of that would be laid out in the pellet feasibility study. And so what I've just described to you is the full investment grade thermal energy audit. So it doesn't look at the electricity, but it does look at the envelope and the mechanical systems and how all of them integrate. So it would also include your ventilation, and how all of these systems are working together. And so it's a very whole buildings approach. You've already done energy audits on this building. And so a lot of your thermal analysis has been completed. There probably isn't a whole lot that we can add to that. So an alternative would be for $2,000, which we would cover 75%, so that would leave you with $500. We can knock off the blower door and the IR scan and the thermal envelope. That would still include the pellet feasibility study and analysis of your mechanicals. And then the third option is that we could do a desktop analysis of just the pellet feasibility study. And it would be a desktop analysis, so it's more general in scope. We would look at the size of your system, what we expect a boiler would be from our experience, what we expect it would cost, and give you sort of a range of what those costs would be with cash flow analysis. And that would just give you a sense of whether you wanted to take the next step or not. And that would be free to the town. We wouldn't charge you for that. So if you're just interested in exploring pellet feasibility, that might be the way to go. If you're interested in getting more of the mechanical audit, to understand those cost energy conservation measures, then we can do that. The same 3 options apply to the fire station. The numbers are a little bit different. So for the alternative B, which would be no blower door or infrared scan, then it would be $1,500. So that would be $375.
But they don't
To the
have that,
town.
they haven't had
They
that
don't have a
done.
previous audit.
Right. The thinking on that was that because it's a fairly new building.
New construction.
And we did the site visit, and from our observations, there wasn't, the lighting upgrade recommendation was, sort of an obvious one that we saw. And then the foundation and stem wall insulation is an area that we would recommend you looking into. But we don't know that under the conditions of that particular building, the blower door and IR scan might not be as useful as they would be for a building such as this.
Yeah.
So that's where you've got a couple different options to discuss.
So I guess I'm looking to you guys for, well, let me ask this question. If we were to move forward with this next step, what would be the time frame of the final step? Because is there money? I'm just trying to get the timing down, because at some point there's going to have to be an ask of this 75%, either through a budget process, or I don't know how much this, I don't even know what the dollar amount is, of the funding and how long it's available and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the desktop analysis typically takes, we could probably have that done in, a week or two. Probably by your next board meeting, we could have that available. And then the audits typically take a good 6 to 8 weeks especially if you do the full blower door and everything. But there's a lot of monitoring that goes on in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So those do take a while. So you want to budget for that. And then as far as you were asking about the timing and then the budget.
I mean, if we find out through an audit that this is something that we want to move forward, let's say we decide that it's a good thing for the town hall to make this switch.
Yeah.
The bidding and all of that stuff. Is there? Do we have a year to get that done because the funding's running out, or do we have? Can we apply for it and it doesn't happen for a couple years? That's what I'm.
Yeah, we expect that it'll happen within the next year.
Okay.
Based on where we are with projects, there's a good chance that we will seek an extension.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a number of entities that are looking right now at a November bond vote. And then that would sort of move the process along for speccing and bidding through the winter. So we would encourage you to think about a November vote if this is something that you're interested in considering.
And what do you
Would
guys
just
think?
point out, we have to, prior to an audit, we might want to consider, we've budgeted for the door replacement on the front. That's obviously, that's one of the areas that's of concern and consideration.
Yeah.
So you might kind of want to have that done prior to being audited for this, to take that into account, or at least have a sufficient technical specs on what we're replacing the door with.
Yeah.
Just
Well, I mean, it's, it's really a philosophical question as much as anything. I mean, do we want to do it? I think that, payback periods, given that we already have, well, our usage in here is relatively low. In the fire department, it's relatively high, but it's a fairly efficient system. Payback period is going to be fairly long, I would guess, because these are expensive systems, definitely.
Well, I guess that's what I'm kind of curious about. And then on top of that, I guess what I'm curious about, and you'll know more than this than I do, but we've had some nightmares with the pellet system at the school.
Yeah.
And so I guess I would want to be assured that we'd have the backup. At least we have a backup system there,
Yeah.
which has saved us. And so I guess those are the types of things I'd be a little concerned about, particularly with the fire, well, with you guys too, but particularly with the fire station.
Yeah, the biggest complication at the school, I think, has been the control systems.
Mm-hmm.
And, the controls for that building are complicated because of what was already existing, et cetera.
Right.
These are not trouble-free systems, but they're pretty darn good when they're put in right. I think that was
Part of the issue.
part of the issue was that it was not
Connecting it to the older system.
it wasn't perhaps engineered quite the way, the controls weren't engineered quite the way they should have been, et cetera. But
So can you tell me again, this desktop analysis, the one that doesn't cost us anything?
Mm-hmm.
What will that give us in the end? Will it give us, I guess one of the things that we just really need, like you said, is the payback,
a basic
cost,
analysis.
because
Yeah.
if the funding was 50-50 or
Right.
75-25, we're looking at 75% is our,
Yeah, the flip side of that being that, hey, if somebody's gonna pay for 25% of it,
it's,
that's
yeah.
pretty substantial.
Yeah, I totally agree, but I don't even know what but does that analysis give us that information?
It would give
Somewhat.
you a ballpark of what we would expect a system to
A payback
cost.
time and
You
cost,
know,
yeah.
I asked an engineer about it, and he threw out $60,000 to $70,000
Yeah.
probably for a system.
So maybe we should just start with that.
Yeah.
Right, because again, it takes us back to taking steps prior to making that move and doing that both in the firehouse and in this building. I'm talking about the doors here, but in the firehouse also pointing out the insulation, the lack of insulation between the floors, even though the upstairs is
Right.
insulated.
Right.
If that may be causing some of the issues that are
Yeah.
of consumption there. So
And that's one of the things that there's
knowing
something
that,
going on.
well, that may
It's
very
a lot
well
of
be.
consumption.
Yeah, and
part
I
of it.
don't know, we have had somebody in there recently doing there was some, and you'd have to talk to Tom, I
Right.
can't remember, but the zones and some control issues and
I remember how warm it was in there that the
yeah,
other night.
so there has been some work done, and we're trying to wait for a couple months to see. Of course, this winter is so hard to even
Yeah,
gauge
to make a
anything,
judgment,
but
right.
but I guess I would be interested in doing at least this analysis that will give us this ballpark figure. I think your point is well taken as far as the door, but I don't, and some of the other things that.
No, I don't
Yeah.
propose it as a holdup,
Yeah.
more as just something
Part
to
of-
be
part of the
be
process.
upset
Part of the
or
equation,
yeah,
yeah.
accounting and or the
Yeah.
audit of it.
I'm certainly in favor of exploring it until it no longer makes sense to
Okay.
explore it.
Is that-
I think if we have, part of it is, as Cynthia said, at some point, we have to ask people to justify it. The school, I think, is gonna
Unfortunately,
bias a
color,
vote,
right,
no question.
right.
But, if we're looking at a 25-year payback period, that's a lot harder to sell than it is if it's an 8-year payback. I think it's gonna be somewhere in between those two, but, it's really hard to do these calculations right now, just because
Right.
oil's so cheap and,
The winter's so
it's-
warm.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a tough one. I think we should all be heading towards wood preferably, but the financial justification for it is not simple, so.
All right, so we'll
I'll
start.
make 2 points. One on the Putney Central School.
Yeah.
The pellet boiler that they chose for that does not have an automatic shutdown.
Right.
And so because it's had a lot of the problems that they've had are in the mild season because it tends to overheat because it doesn't
Right.
have that automatic shutdown. Any boiler that we would propose would have that automated. So that shouldn't be an issue. There's also been a couple problems in how it was installed
Right.
with plumbing issues and whatnot. And that's where the Windham Wood Heat team has engineers on staff to provide review and to sort of give some oversight to make sure that things are done.
And so these would go out to bid presumably,
It
or,
would go out to bid.
and then would they be lowest bidder award contracts, or we don't know?
Typically they are low bid, but it has to be within whatever specs you give.
Right.
So if the specs are good to begin with, if those are solid, then as long as they fulfill those specs, then it should be clear.
So that would eliminate them, if they've got to fulfill those specs, that would, because that's the other problem too, is at the school at least, is that, was it the installer or the manufacturer is now kind of disappeared?
I think a little bit of everybody has
Combination,
kind of
yeah.
disappeared. Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that's something else the town would, or the voting would want to know, that whoever's installing and whoever manufactured this thing, they're going to be there and they're going to guarantee and back up their work, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, for me, that boils down to a more experienced installer putting in a more time-tested unit. The problem is that often is not gonna end up being your low bidder. So if it's a low bidder contract, then that makes me nervous in this situation, just because.
I would point out also, they can be very successful with the
Absolutely.
boiler system.
Oh, I'm all in
The boiler
favor of
system installed in the
Yeah.
high school in that renovation has proven to be a huge money saver.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've put several of them in various
Slightly
places.
smaller.
They're great. I just, we don't want the wrong people in the wrong system, so.
Right.
Understood.
I mean, and I think that's the thing too. I mean, personally, and I think a lot of people in town, like we were saying philosophically, are very behind
The concept of
getting
wood
away
heat.
from fossil fuels
Yeah,
and stuff like
absolutely.
that. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just going to be finessing,
Yeah.
The numbers.
the numbers and really explaining to people that this is not going to be another loss somehow.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep
And then
moving.
the other thing I was going to mention is that it was also suggested that a heat pump might be a good option for this building, since you're only heating a fairly small portion of the building and you use it for air conditioning.
Oh,
Because the heat pump will do both. That's
it's
outside
not
the
a bad
scope
idea.
of our
Right.
program.
that might
But I just wanted
solve
to mention that because
And again,
that could be a
looking-
good solution for you.
Again, looking to the future, who knows down the road if there's some big grant waiting for us to finally do something with the upstairs.
Right.
And just taking that into account,
Yeah, no, and also, I mean,
even if it's going to sit inert for another decade.
I don't know where we are on our solar, on our generation, but, if we had an air-to-air heat exchange system, electricity dependent and supplementing that with solar in the long run is the most cost-effective way to do it, but that's a long-term proposition too, but yeah, this might make sense, although an air-to-air, you need quite a few heads, it's quite a bit of floor space in here to do.
I mean, one of the biggest problems we have right now is this room with heat. I mean, they're freezing in there, and I just don't know. I don't know what to do for them, but that's a possible solution.
Yeah, that would actually be a real candidate for a heat pump.
Just a single little
You're right.
one over in there, yeah, you just hate to do I hate to have 5 of them placed around the building to do 5 separate.
Right. Well, we
But,
could
yeah, you're
be
right.
discreet around the back of the building. We,
Yeah. Yeah.
certainly don't want to put it on the side here.
Yeah.
With the ice.
Worth exploring.
Okay, so we'll move ahead with that.
Okay, so we'll do the 2 desktop analyses,
See where we get
and
to.
we should be able to have it to you by the next select board meeting.
Okay.
And then you can use that to evaluate. Please feel free to be in contact with me if
Okay.
you have any questions. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay, is Josh here just to introduce himself?
He's just here to be here.
Observe the good times
We're
we
gonna take
have
Stephen
here.
away.
In case we get
Saw
rowdy.
you on that unregistered motorcycle today.
Oh, since I wasn't on that one.
I had to laugh, right, there were at least 6 or 7 motorcycles I passed on the road today.
Oh, is that
So
right?
it's definitely day to get out and kick the carbon out.
All right, so, annual financial plan.
There's a copy in there. This is the required documentation we need to send to the state.
This is for the
Yeah.
Highway.
the
For
grant.
highway.
So this is this is the same one we do this is,
Yeah.
this is an application for blacktop. When do
No.
we put that in?
We're working on it right now. We're meeting with V-Trans, I think, not next week, the week after. And Brian's working on the application right now. But this is just reporting to them what our highway budget is, how much of it comes from the state, and making sure that we're basically spending.
So do you have
You have
us
to
as an
sign it.
action, what do we need to do?
Yeah, you have to approve the TA 60 form and then sign it.
All right, well, I will make a motion that we approve the town highway form, TA 60, the annual financial plan.
And
And
then
we
this is the
authorize
copy
you to
that I'll
sign
send
that,
to
or
you.
do we sign it?
You sign it, there's,
Okay.
yeah,
All of
it's
us?
coming down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I'll second that.
If there's no further discussion, then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's see,
No.
309.
I'm gonna send that with it, Laura can take it.
Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund.
So, I left it on my desk. I met with, I gotta go get the pile. Let's get on here. Bear back, you guys can do some other business.
Have you met these guys yet?
I think I have.
Seen us in the newspaper or something?
Yeah.
Saw him in the most wanted section, right?
Without a doubt.
I think I met you.
We met at town meeting.
Yes, correct.
Good to meet you.
We've met here and at the school.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
so
so
I've
I-
seen so many faces.
Yeah.
Of course.
Nice to meet you.
How's it going so far?
Very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
settling in.
Yeah. Starting to get busy. It was like the first couple weeks
I'm
were
sure.
pretty slow, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty easy.
Yeah.
And then I think beginning of actually this weekend, I came back after 3 days off and had like 4 calls pending. I'm like, oh geez, started to pick up, and it has. So
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Welcome to town.
thank you.
Okay, what do you
Okay,
got?
so I met last week with Teresa Thomas, and she is from the Agency of Natural Resources. And basically, I was put in touch with her, and she had someone else come in, I can't remember her name, but by Chris Hayes, who works for Simon's Operation. He's one of our operators. He was in touch with them and started talking to them about the fact that we're working on our water and sewer asset management, rate structure, that was the discussion that they had. And they told him that there is a revolving fund to help municipalities with exactly what we're trying to do. So they came and met with us last week. We told them what we've been doing, that we really want to start doing some asset inventory and management and really getting a clear picture of where our system, both systems are at, and talking about rates, one of the girls was really excited about the whole rate setting. That was like really exciting. She was,
That's our thing.
that's her thing. I was like, God, thank
Good.
God there's people in the world that
Yeah.
love to do that. So the more we talked about it, the more we realized that we should probably kind of take one of these at a time, not try to tackle both projects at the same time. And because the sewer system is the older system, and because the sewer system is the one that we're having the most problems managing and really trying to get a handle on it, we thought we'd start with that one. So basically what they will do is they will, it's a complicated system in the way that they do the loaning and granting of money and what they call things, but the first step to it is to send it, which we were gonna do this anyways, is try to find an engineer that would help us. We put $10,000 in the budget for exactly what we're trying to do. She thinks it's gonna be a little bit more, probably, but they'll pay 50% of it.
So it'll be more, but we'll pay less.
Well, it depends on how much it comes in.
Right.
I mean, if it comes in at 20,000,
Right.
we need to pay 10.
Right.
Then,
Just for the sewer.
We've got 20, we've got
Yeah.
10 to put in
Yeah.
to the.
So it could be that it's 10 and we pay 5, and that's exactly what we have for the sewer. I just
Right.
don't know until we.
Yeah,
So she sent me the information that I needed to send out. A request for qualification is the first step, which is a little different than a bid request. Basically, you send out to engineering firms, we want to know what your qualifications are, this is the project that we're doing. They send in their information, we interview them, then we start negotiating cost.
so they don't actually do this.
No.
They help us,
Yeah.
they connect us with the people.
Yeah. So once we do this request for qualifications and go through this process, we can then apply for the funding. So, if we don't get the funding and we can't do it, then we're not tied to it. It's just, that's kind of the steps. The money is there, first come, first serve. So she said the sooner we get it in, the better. So I wanted to get this going. So I wanted to let you guys know, it says there's an action for this, there really doesn't need to be. I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew I was sending out this request for qualification. It's gonna go out Friday if everybody thinks this is a good idea for me to pursue. It could be that a project comes out of it. There's different levels of, even if it's an infrastructure project that we need to replace a pump or whatever it might be, while they do the inventory of the assets, and they'll help us do a capital plan, that kind of thing. It's this revolving fund where you can ask for different steps while you're in the process. Sometimes it's a loan, we can pay back at no interest, so it's a really good program. It's basically the state is really trying to get municipalities to start thinking about long term, not just trying to fix it as things break. So
Makes sense.
I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that this was going on and get your blessing that it's okay for me to go forward with sending out this request. And I will be asking
Yeah.
somebody to be on the committee to review the qualifications with me, so that and they'll help do that as well. They'll look at them with us, so.
Do we know if there's any other towns that have done this?
They're doing a visit around to towns that are interested. They're trying to kind of connect with every town to let them know that this is out there, so, yeah. So it could be competitive, but it may be that everybody doesn't have time to do it right now. I don't know, I'm just trying to get it out as fast as I
Well,
can.
first come, first served is
Yeah.
good.
And this has only been around for a couple of years anyway, right?
Yeah,
Not even 2 years.
so,
Sounds good.
so that will be happening I'll send it out on Friday for a 30-day return of the qualifications, then we need to review them and pick a firm. Okay?
Town manager report.
I just wanted to let you know that I'm sending a letter to VHFA, Vermont Housing Finance Agency. They're the ones that work with the Windham and Windsor Housing Trust. We've applied for, Windham and Windsor Housing Trust has applied for that project on Putney Landing Road and the Noise House for the affordable housing project to get some of the tax credits that are available allocated to that project. VHFA asked if we had any comments, and I just wrote a very brief letter that just states that we're supportive of the project. The Affordable Housing Committee has met and they're supportive that it meets with our goals and our town plan, etc. But I just wanted to let you know that that was out there in case
Sounds good.
you ran into anybody that said no. That's the gist I've gotten from reading. I mean, I haven't attended any of the affordable housing
Yeah,
meetings.
no,
but-
there was
okay.
pretty unanimous agreement that
That it was,
this sounded, we're having an informational meeting on
31st.
31st, right? Yeah. In which Wyndham Windsor and Bob Stevens are coming to go through sort of the possibilities of what scope, et cetera. And we all agreed that we were happy to have them do that, and then we would be participating in the sort of meeting to introduce it, so.
I just wanted to make you aware of what was going on with this. We have a lot of projects going on, so I'm wanting to make sure that I don't forget to tell you about some of them. But the structures grant that we got awarded to us was $175,000, and it was for a bridge replacement. We call it a culvert, but it's a bridge replacement on Hickory Ridge Road. We sent the bid request out last week or 2 weeks ago for contractors for this project. I think there were 13 different contractors that showed up at the site visit
For construction.
for construction. The project hopefully will be done, I don't think it'll be as early as July, but it's gonna be within the construction season of 2016, July to October. The road will be closed for the duration of this project, which I'm not sure because we haven't gotten the information back from contractors how long it's going to be. I've been in contact, I've sent a letter today to the abutting property owners. There's a little bit of, there's a construction easement area that we're gonna have to access their property, so they're going to have to give us some permission to do that. We're thinking that the bids, I don't know exactly, but the project is a little bit higher in cost than we had projected in our grant application based on some costs that the engineer gave us. Brian and I are working through the budget right now, and with the winter that we've had, it's possible we'll have some money left from, I don't wanna say it too soon,
Right.
but right now it's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
March
So-
is-
We're hoping that that will help us pay for this project. But if you have any questions, the plans are here. I have plans in PDF if anybody wants to see them. But hopefully, since there was such a good turnout at the site visit, that we'll have quite a few bids to choose from, that it'll be competitive.
This is south of Black Locust, right? So that's the alternate route.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I see that?
Yep.
Goes.
Is it south of it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because Black Locust is
Where it
right
comes
here,
back
right?
in.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's right
way
there.
south of it, yeah, okay.
So that's going on. I don't really have an update on the sidewalk. It's the same as what I've been saying for 2 months.
They still
Right
working on
away.
the easement thing?
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have some time to get on the phone and call everybody and see where we're at, but I just haven't had time.
And budget report?
Yeah, I forgot to do that. I looked at the budget yesterday.
As we
and-
would assume
yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
And what's happening in the Lister's office then?
The listers, I think it was, okay, so town meeting was Tuesday. So Thursday that week, Jordy and Chris both went to a NIMRIC training. And then Monday and Tuesday of this week, all three of them went to a new lister training down in Brattleboro for 2 days. So they've,
And how was it?
it was good, they really liked it, yep.
Good.
Yep, they learned a lot. A lot of it was, it was very basic stuff and just kind of getting, this is, yep, it was really good.
Yeah.
I was pleased that the state of Vermont had training in southern Vermont for 2 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
So they've been in there. They are having a meeting. I think they're having an organizational meeting on Monday, their first lister meeting, and they've got an agenda that we have posted with several things that they're going to talk about and just set up right from the beginning. So yeah, they're
Settling in.
settling in. Yep. So that seems to be okay for now.
Good. Warrants, do we have any warrants?
Laura, I need to grab those. I guess I can also say, it doesn't matter which order this came in, but I did have someone come in this week who's interested in purchasing the Santa's Land property. Just very briefly, she is, she's an educator in, what do I want to say? She wants to open a zoo, what do I call it? A zoological park and conservation center. She's from Wilmington. She's working with the owners right now and trying to negotiate a price, I think. But she's very excited and willing to meet with the community first so that people can really understand what it is she's trying to do there, because she knows that there's been some bad press. Yeah. So that might be coming up within the next month or so, just a discussion about that. And I'm pretty excited about what she's offering. I mean, there's a little bit of possibility for us to, if the town's really interested in what she's doing, for us to help possibly get some funding
Make
with
it
her.
happen.
And she is not a nonprofit. So that's, I talked to her about that, and she said no. I mean, she has a business of her own where she goes around and she teaches green concepts to businesses, and so you may see her around. She drives a Jeep that's looks like zebra print. You may see her up to Santa's Land a little bit. So it was kind of exciting.
That would be exciting. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
Big facility.
It is a big facility, and it's got, odd potential for the right person with the right mind and the right vision.
I think don't quote me, but a director of a similar
Something
organization
along
in
those
Maine
lines.
at one
Cool.
point. She grew up in Wilmington and moved back here, and she was looking for a spot for this, and she would move if she had to, but she doesn't really want to.
What's her name?
CS, and that's her name, CS, and I can't remember her last name, but she's the Go Green Girl, if you look her up. Yeah.
That sounds vaguely familiar. Like I've seen that in the Green Pages magazine or something like that. Yeah.
I bet, probably, yeah. Really, I was really excited. I was like, wow, she is,
Has
I
the
hope,
potential
yeah,
to
it would
actually
be
do
just
something.
such a really good fit for this community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and Alice and I have actually, we went to a place in Connecticut that's actually a waterfowl and bird sanctuary that's sort of out in the middle of nowhere, and it's beautiful, and we both said, something like this at Santa's Land would be great.
Yeah. So-
But it takes somebody who's
Yeah, and it's gonna take,
can
you
put
still have to,
a lot of time and energy.
Yeah. There is some activity up there, vandalism, that kind of thing that's going on. Josh has been told and going to be patrolling, so.
Keeping an eye out.
Yeah, anybody that's up there that's watching this show right
Is it
now.
still being,
Yeah.
is it still occupied though?
Feeding me out.
No, sorry.
No,
There's nothing out there right now, right? I mean, nobody's occupying anything.
no.
Right.
But there is going to be more people watching it right now, so.
Mhm. Good.
Yeah.
It's good. You know, and if this doesn't work out for her, I hope we can find something similar. that
Plant a
could-
seed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that is, I think, all I have.
And do we need an executive session for anything?
I don't.
I don't.
Yep.
I'm all set.
All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Definitely second it.
There we go.
All in favor?
We'll get off easy.
Aye.
Huh?
50
Yeah,
minutes,
that's
not
an
bad.
hour.
Nobody asked
That's
how long
amazing.
our meetings usually